Hello and welcome back to season number 2 of the Peer-to-Peer podcast with TAUK. Got some fantastic feedback from season 1, so much so that we had to come back and do it all over again. And what better place to start season number 2 with the main woman herself, Steph Walker.
Hi, Chris.
I won't say thank you for being on the podcast.
Because I'd have to say thank you for having me. And then I'd be really disappointed with myself. So
Absolutely. Well, Steph, let's jump straight into it.
Yep.
So the self-employed world has grown dramatically
Yep.
over the last couple of years or so, certainly over the last year since we last caught up. How is TAUK standing out as a strong, viable option in such what is now a very competitive marketplace?
Look, we have had the benefit of hindsight and time to very, very expensive commodities in some respects, but have also allowed us the time to really consider what is going to make us different, what is going to make us better. And it's something that we say a lot. We want to not necessarily be the biggest self-employed estate agency model. We want to be the best. And the best for me is providing everything that our business partners need to go out there and win listings, win more listings, win the right listings, win them at the right fee, have everything they then need to sell homes and provide an amazing experience for clients. And I started off by saying we had the benefit of hindsight. Myself, my 2 co-founders, and the people involved in running this business have all been self-employed estate agents. We've all built businesses. And I suppose we've been able to sit back over the last nearly 4 years and tweak, take things that we knew worked, remove things that we've seen in the past that haven't necessarily built the right sort of environment. And I think what we're left with, in general, this space is the only estate agency model that I believe every stakeholder wins in. And here at TAUK, I just feel we do it that little bit better.
And do you think that's what makes you different from, I don't want to say the competition, but from the others? Is that the deciding factor? You're in it kind of together with the guys that are on board as your partner agents, or what do you think makes the difference?
Yeah, look, I think when you bring models from other countries, you have a sort of rinse and repeat type setup. And look, I tried to take another model. Well, several of us here at TAUK tried to take another model to another country, and you can't square peg a round hole. I think what we've been able to do is say, where does personal agency really win? Pull those bits together from the States, from Australia, more so actually, I believe, and then wrap it up in, some real quintessential British things, one of them being a brand.
And I know you talk very highly, kind of offline, away from podcasts, etc., about the sort of strength of the management team behind sort of behind the scenes, effectively. Talk us through sort of the strength and diversity in that and what they bring to the table.
I mean, we have to start. Chairman of our board, Harry Hill, is basically the father of a state agency. Not that he'd probably be glad about me saying that, to be honest, but I meant that with all due respect. I think the estate agency experience in differentiated models that run through our board and my 2 co-founders, I think is unmatched. Even down to our CFO, Kurt, everything that we do here is about how much more value can we add to our business partners? And there's 2 main points to that, really. How can we put them in a position to charge the very best fees? And then out the other side of that, how do we get them paid and get them paid quickly?
And how much do you think it helps you as a brand to have those people behind the scenes of sort of not been there, done that, got the t-shirt, but have very much sort of, walked the mile, so to speak, in the estate world? How much of an advantage do you think that plays to the company?
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me as when I introduce a business partner now versus 3.5, 4 years ago. Everybody that joins us now has also the benefit of hindsight and is able to watch all of those business partners that have gone before them and, yes, of course, emulate the things that have led to success and quick success, but more importantly, avoid the stuff that doesn't bring success. And so I suppose where we have people involved in this business that have built phenomenal businesses before and, sometimes at vast scale, we can also look back and make decisions around TAUK based on positives, but also based on things that you don't necessarily want to repeat.
So one of the things we've talked about historically is the customer hub. and you're very passionate about the Customer Hub. So for those who don't know what it is, talk us through what the Customer Hub is.
So I suppose it goes back to when we launched, we sat and really thought about the client journey and first and foremost, what clients are expecting. I think a piece of this for me is something that a lot of people don't generally talk about, and I don't know whether they think about. But if I was going self-employed as an estate agent now, I'd have to sit and realize that the vast majority of my business exposure in the first couple of years in my business infancy is to buyers, because a house to sell has one or two sellers predominantly, but I may get 5 to 15 buyer inquiries on that one listing. So that's where my biggest exposure is. And so actually, that's where a huge part of my business plan needs to be considered. And for me, for my business partners, I wanted to be able to emulate the experience a client would have going to a conventional estate agency, but just beat it and be even better. So if I see a house I want to see on Rightmove, well, let's start with 96, 97% of people start their property search online. I'd say the overwhelming majority of them are on Rightmove and on the Rightmove app. I've seen 3 Acacia Avenue hit the market. I click through into that advert, spin through a couple of photos, and my options at the bottom of that app are call or email. It used to actually be call agent, email agent. Now it just says call email. So when I hit call, what am I after? I want a viewing. I may have a couple of questions, but really I want a viewing. And so I wasn't necessarily a fan of some of the brokerage approaches in terms of using an answer phone style service. You know, for me, I wanted an experienced estate agent to pick up that phone, to be able to help that client in getting that viewing or getting those questions answered, and to really move that inquiry on. And I didn't think it was wise that those calls were all to be fielded by the business partner, because ultimately their job, particularly in those early days of infancy, is to go out and build the business. And look, they're going to meet those viewers at the open house, at the viewing, and have a wonderful connection with them then. But also, even then, as time goes on, the ability to leverage your time on high payoff activities is truly important. And even just to maybe have a couple of days off and not to have to worry that your actual business is stopping, for me, was truly important.
Days off an estate agency. You heard it here first.
Days off being self-employed. You also heard it first here. What?
So what's the feedback been from not only the agents that you work alongside, but also probably more importantly, the customers as well who've gone through that journey with the Customer Hub?
So I do think when I talk about the Customer Hub, particularly if I'm on a conversation with somebody considering joining TAUK, I genuinely believe they think I am blowing smoke and that I am totally over embellishing how great that team are. Just one of our more recent hires, Shona, was 10 years a branch manager for a really well-known South Coast estate agency. So we're talking top quality individuals, but I do think people think I'm over egging the pudding, and then they join and they go, holy crap, that team is phenomenal. And actually, that is such a difference maker in my business. Particularly those that have come to us from other brokerages. That level of support and that level of being able to go out there and concentrate on high payoff activities, but also to know that your clients are getting as equally as a good service as you having to field every phone call, I just think is absolutely A1.
So let's talk about the support that you offer the agents that come on board with yourself. So there are some models out there that are seen as a cheap way of getting onto Rightmove and a cheap CRM system, which will probably, you'll roll your eyes out, I would imagine, on that side of things. So TAUK are big on support. So talk me through that. How does that look?
Yeah, and I think, look, the cheap link to Rightmove, for me, that's independent estate agency. I think there's a huge place for people being independent estate agents, whether they choose to have a high street location or not. I just think if you want to be a personal estate agent, so that for me is where you as the experienced individual are prominent through every important milestone within that transaction, within that person, helping them move home. I think you need to have support within the business. So the Customer Hub, absolutely, to be able allow you to go out there and help more of those clients, but not be bogged down with minutiae and admin and those sorts of things. But I think support collectively is important. That's one of the reasons that we are branded. So that doesn't detract from the agents and their personal brand. An agent's personal brand is the personality that they display in their local community, which allows them to attract like-minded clients. But the overarching brand, which we are growing across the UK, will also be a difference maker in being a source of business generation for people that operate under that umbrella. And I don't think that we can shy away from the fact that us British love brands. You know, it's why we love to shop at John Lewis and Waitrose. The brand gives this element of the experience that you might expect as a client. And I think that's truly important in personal estate agency, which for me should be low volume, high fee, and really great experiences. But I think our collective and the fact that we've grown, you know, in a fairly steady fashion has allowed us to, from a business partner perspective, stay high quality. And ensure that when somebody joins as a business partner, they are immediately adding value to those around them because of all of the experience that they bring and that desire to really transform the journey of moving home in the UK.
And how important do you think it is to have that sort of winning formula for listing properties, selling properties, increasing fees, rather than sort of doing it yourself and kind of going, well, I'll just do what I've always done sort of thing? How important is it to kind of have that winning formula that you have at TA UK, which you can kind of not imprint on them, because obviously it's their own business and they do what they want, but how important is to have that sort of as a fallback sort of baseline to say, look, if all else fails, this is the playbook sort of thing?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because people become a self-employed estate agent because they no longer want or need a boss or KPIs and those sorts of things. And actually, it's even more important to be more diligent and more focused when you're the one paying or not paying your own salary at the end of the month. I don't think anyone should come into this to play around. And a lot of people will be chasing big numbers. 200 grand a quarter. One of our agents has just done this past quarter, which is just incredible and phenomenal to be able to earn that kind of money in the industry that we love. And, you know, traditionally we wouldn't. But at the same time, some people will be in this to create more of a lifestyle for themselves, or maybe even a happy medium between the two. But the only way to get that is hard work and walking the hard yards. And I just don't think you should play around and mess around in wasting too much time to get to that point. I call it the point of choice, where you've built the business to a certain level where you're getting recommendations and referrals. And then you can either, you know, keep steady and go to brunch on a Saturday, take the kids to school, all of those sorts of things, or you press down again and go even harder and make incredible money. All of those things only happen by walking the hard yard and by having a real desire to keep on improving those metrics as a business and as a set of business partners. I just think our people get to that point of success more quickly.
And so if I was coming to you as an agent from a salaried role today, what are you providing to me beyond obviously the name of TA UK and the network that goes alongside that and sort of the access to Rightmove and all that sort of CRM system stuff? What are you actually providing that I can have tangible in my business that will make a difference?
I think the business plan is incredibly important. And I think having our advanced commission to help with those cash flow issues that are going to happen in those early months is an absolute winning formula. The business plan now has been rinsed and repeated by a fantastic number of business partners. The blueprint is there. You don't have to think outside of the box. Do what the other guys have done that have got successful, and, you know, just get onto autopilot and get to that point where you've got a burgeoning pipeline as quickly as possible. But at the same time, utilize our advanced commission to get you through those first months of pain. I know people talk about 3 months out there. It's not 3 months. It's going to be 6 to 9 months before your pipeline starts to churn. So utilize that advanced commission to make sure that you can take that leap sooner rather than later. I feel like there's a real wine window in the market. I think market conditions for the first time since we've launched are actually perfect coming into 2025 and into 2026, I believe, versus where other business partners have launched with us beforehand. So if you can take that and if you can get and have first mover advantage, self-employed personal agency is still very, very a tiny proportion of the UK market, but it's going to grow, and it's going to grow quickly over the next 5 years. So get yourself into your market now, take first mover advantage, and I tell you, in the next 5 years, you'll be not only improving the industry you love, but bloody hell enjoying it, making a great name for yourself, and changing your family's life.
I love that. So let's go glass half empty, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because if I go onto social media today, if I pull my phone out of my pocket on LinkedIn, everyone who's self-employed estate agent has a Range Rover. They're currently on holiday. They're going to Dubai next week, sort of thing.
Can I get into this?
Yeah. When do I sign up, sort of thing? So talk to me through about the guys that maybe don't have that sort of catapult to success that some of them do. What's the sort of fallback plan? Are they just kind of left to the wayside, or is there some sort of fallback plan where you go, look, guys, you obviously need a bit more support. This is what we offer on that side.
I think people should be realistic in that they're either open to take advice or they're not. And look, again, I get it. You've started your own business. That is a huge pat on the back. Well done. You've had more balls than most people to actually get to that point. But I do think that ego is a bit of an issue in our industry-wide. And actually, what you should be doing from day one of starting your business is going, I've not done this before. There's a load of people that have. Why would I try and make this up as I go along? Because generally that's where you'll see that people just take a little bit longer to get in and do it because they want to kind of do it for themselves. I sort of say, because I'm a huge fan of working smarter rather than harder. And I do joke that maybe it's because I'm inherently lazy, which isn't true, but jokes aside, like, why would I make life harder for myself? Like, there's a plan that I can follow, and I know if I follow it, I'm going to emulate these other people that are now earning silly money and having a great work-life balance. So don't get me wrong, we're going to be there, we're going to help and support you. But to be honest, Chris, a lot of it is just saying, let me get stuck in, follow what people have done before. And come month 9 or 10, when your pipeline's there and you're starting to get paid and everything's feeling great, then go off on a tangent, then go and do some weird, wild and wonderful things. But just follow the plan first, have a look at Nick Brown, Tom Constable, Dan Woods, any of the newer guys that have joined us this year. Just follow that plan, honest. It will lead you to success.
So talk me through the sort of, I don't say survival rate, because that sounds very pessimistic, but let's fast forward a year from someone launching their business or across the board. What sort of numbers do we see sort of making it to month 12? Because I know generally the self-employed estate agent industry is a bit of a car crash and a bit of a bloodbath for the first year or so. And there's lots of people that thrive, and that's fantastic. There's also lots that fall by the wayside as well. So what sort of figures do we look like for ones that actually make it through to month 12 and then kind of go on from there?
I think it's more important for people to have a really clear picture of what they want to achieve coming in and benchmark that against those that are able to do the same, and also say how much work needs to get put in to do that and emulate again. I think if we look at the industry statistically, and we do have to take in the other countries into this account, because self-employed is, I know people are going to say it's not new. Keller, Remax, etc. have been here over a decade, yada, yada. But it is fairly new for us here in the UK. But statistically in the industry, they say that 80% of the business is done by 20% of the agents. That isn't to say that the other 80% can't make a living, but I think it's more for me around, because the overwhelming majority of people, I believe, in TA UK have been successful and will continue to be successful. It's more a case of what do you need and want year one? What would be amazing year one? Well, what's the bare minimum that you need to put in to make that happen? And be accountable to yourself, because you haven't got a boss, but actually you're now your own boss. And that's even more important than it ever was before.
So final question for myself, Steph. So if you look at the self-employed world at the moment, there's lots of choices out there. So why would someone consider TA UK as their option?
I think we are the perfect business partner for people that are looking to grow an incredible personal estate agency, where they can be the most important estate agent person to people moving home from start to finish. If they really revere a great looking brand that they know will help them go in and win great listings at great fees, they have a real pride in terms of presentation. I think if they would really like the ability to leverage their own time, use the customer hub, have amazing estate agents, be your back office team at a very cost effective level, if that sort of premium boutique style of estate agency that interestingly can travel all price points, because look at the very different 32, 33 counties we now operate in. If that seems attractive and you want a bunch of people that would run through a brick wall to help you succeed, TAUK is the place to be.
Steph, as always, thank you so much.
Thanks.